So today we're going to do multiplying decimals by whole numbers and decimals by decimals. This is actually really easy to do because the multiplication is just like regular multiplication. So let me do these two examples for you. First one says find 6 times 3.91. So the easy way to do this is figure out which number has the most digits, which in this case is 3.91, and put that number on the top. So the one with the most digits goes on top. This time we're doing it by a whole number, that we have the whole number 6. Just slide it all the way to the right. So you do not have to line up decimals and you do not have to add zeros when you're multiplying. You only do that when you're adding or subtracting, not when multiplying. So basically I just pretend the decimal's not even there. So I'm just pretending that this is 391 times 6. So 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54. So put the 4, carry the 5. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 5 is 23. Now, here's where you figure out where the decimal point goes. You look at both of your numbers. Count how many numbers are to the right of the decimal. So there's 2 here. This is not a decimal number, so we're not going to be counting anything. So you count how many numbers are to the right of the numbers that are decimals. So there's 2. So then you strategically put your decimal point so that it has the same amount of numbers after it. So since there was 2 up here, I have to have 2 at the end. So my answer is 23.46. Okay, let's try another one. Put the number with the most digits on top, so that's going to be the 0.016, or 16 thousandths. The 3 is going to go to the far right, just kind of smush it over to the right. You don't have to line them up, you don't have to add zeros. Multiply like normal. 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0. Then count how many numbers are to the right of the decimal. There's 3 digits to the right of the decimal, so I need to put my decimal point strategically in my answer so that there's 3 numbers to the right of it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of these to try. All right, so you guys try these. So put the digit or the number with the most digits on top. You don't have to line them up. You don't have to add zeros. So the number that goes on the bottom, just kind of slide it to the right. Multiply like normal. Count how many digits are to the right of the decimal point, and that's how many you need to the right in your answer. So pause and try both of these. There's a trick you can use every time you're multiplying by a power of 10. So by power of 10, I mean 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, so forth. Basically, a 1 with zeros after it is a power of 10. So the trick for that is you take the number, so that in this case 1.35 is what we would be multiplying by. So we want to do, it says how high is a stack of 100 dimes. So if each one's 1.35 millimeters, you would multiply it by 100. So instead of actually multiplying, when you have a power of 10, there's a trick that you can do. So all you do is you take the number that you were multiplying by, you take your decimal point and you move it however many spots to the right as there are zeros in the power of 10. So there's 2 zeros in 100, so you take your decimal and move it 2 spots to the right. So now it's at the end of the number, which means you don't really need it. So my answer is 135. Okay, so another example would be like, let's say I have 15.6 and I'm multiplying it by 10. Because 10 is the power of 10, it's a 1 with zeros after it. You count how many zeros there are. So there's 1 0. Move that decimal 1 spot to the right. So my answer would be 156. Okay, so I'm going to give you one of these to try where you do the trick without actually doing the multiplying. Okay, so you guys try this one. So it says a half dollar is 2.15 millimeters thick. How high is a stack of 100 half dollars? So you're multiplying it by 100. Try the trick. Count how many zeros are in 100. And move the decimal point that many spots to the right. It gives you the same answer without actually doing multiplication. So now we're going to do multiplying decimals times decimals. Also relatively easy. So for the first example here, there's 2 numbers. They both have the same amount of digits. So that means it doesn't really matter which one I put on top. So I'll just put the 4.8 on the top. So I'm going to pretend these decimals aren't even here. So I'm just going to pretend that this is 48 times 72. So 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Start your second row with a 0. 7 times 8 is 56, carry the 5, 7 times 4 is 28, plus 5 is 33. Add my 2 rows together, so I get 6, 15, carry the 1, 4, and 3. Now, here's how you figure out your decimal for this. Now that they have 2 decimal numbers, you have to count how many numbers are to the right of both of them. So there's 1 number to the right here and 1 number to the right here. That's a total of 2 numbers to the right. So strategically put your decimal so there's 2 numbers to the right in your answer. So you count how many decimal numbers are to the right of the decimal. There's 1 here and 1 here. That's a total of 2. Okay, let me try B. So 3.1 times 0.05. This time 0.05 has more digits, so I'm going to put that number on the top, and 3.1 can go on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to multiply like normal. So 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0. Start my second row with a 0. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 3 times 0 is 0. So now I'm going to add my 2 rows. I get 5, 5, 1, 0. This time we have 2 numbers to the right of the decimal on the top, 1 number to the right of the decimal on the bottom. That's a total of 3 numbers to the right. So if I put my decimal right here, I have 3 numbers to the right. So you're counting how many numbers are to the right of each decimal, and whatever that total is, that's how many have to be to the right in your final answer. So that's how you know where to put your decimal point. All right, so let me give you a couple of these ones to try. Okay, so you try these 2. For part A, it doesn't really matter which number goes on top because they have the same amount of digits. Just multiply like normal. Count how many digits are to the right of both decimals, and that's the total that you would need for your final answer to the right. For part B, if I were you, I'd put the 0.02 on the top because it has more digits, so it's going to be less math if you do it that way. So try those 2. This one is order of operations, so let's see if we can figure this one out. So it says 2.44 times, remember the number next to parentheses means times, 4.5 minus 3.175. So we need to do parentheses first. So I need to do my 4.5 minus 3.175. Now, because I am subtracting, I do need to line up my decimals, and I do need to add 0 so that everything is lined up correctly. Oop, that was a bad line. Okay, so now I can't do 0 minus 5. I can't do 0 minus 7. So I'm going to start here. Borrow, make it a 4. This becomes a 10. Now I'm going to borrow it and make it 9. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. With subtraction of decimals, decimal point comes straight down. Okay? Now I got to multiply it by 2.44. I'm going to put the number with the most digits on top because that's going to make it easier for me in the long run. Now that I am multiplying, I don't need to line them up, and I don't need to add zeros. You only do that if you were adding or subtracting. So 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I got to start with a 0 for my next row, and I'm multiplying by 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I got to start with 2 zeros and multiply everything out by 2. So 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. So now I'm going to add all these together. I'm going to put it over here. So I get 0, 0, 3, 13, carry the 1, 6 plus 6, 12, carry the 1, and then 3. Now, I have 1, 2, 3 numbers on the top to the right of the decimal, and 1, 2 numbers to the right of the bottom. That's a total of 5. So if I put my decimal here, now I have 5 numbers to the right. So that's how you would do one like that. Okay? So let's see if I can give you an order of operations one, see if you can figure it out. All right, so you try this one with order of operations. You want to do parentheses first. Make sure when you're adding, everything's lined up. You add zeros and you bring the decimal point straight down when you're done. Then when you multiply, you need to make sure you don't line up. Make sure you just do regular multiplication and count how many spaces are to the right of your decimal. Okay, so try that one.